Hey guys, it's Clovis, and today we are going to talk about what the God cards would be like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists of the Roses. Now, it's no secret that Duelists of the Roses was initially released in Japan on the 6th of September 2001, and uses all of the old original set of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. But the English release of the game for both North America and the PAL region were in 2003. And despite the North American release being earlier in the year and the 16th of February 2003, this was still over 2 months after the debut of Obelisk the Tormentor being broadcast in the anime in North America. We wouldn't see the other God cards until after Duelists of the Roses came out, especially Slifer the Sky Dragon in March 2003, but considering Duelists of the Roses was released with the Magnet Warrior cards, it was safe to assume for anyone buying the game that it would contain cards from the Battle City arc of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. I would like to talk about the other Battle City cards being in the game in the next card discussion video, so feel more than welcome to subscribe if you're interested in seeing that video and other related content, but for now I want to focus on the God cards being in Duelists of the Roses. Not because I think they should be in the game, or because I like them, because I don't, but because why not? Now, let's try figuring out how the God cards would work in Duelists of the Roses, remembering that the game is a lot simpler in nature than the real card game and doesn't seem to really use any complex effects. Considering we are using our imagination here, we also don't need to stick to strict limits of the game, but we should consider the game is kind of old and doesn't make things too complex, so let's talk about the God cards in Duelists of the Roses. So, one of the least confusing to translate out of the three, in my opinion, would be the Winged Dragon of Ra. So, I believe the defining effect of this monster is written out not only in its effect, but also used in the anime, and that is paying life points to add to the attack of Winged Dragon of Ra, leaving only 100 life points in the real card, or if you're Marek, just 1 life point. So while we could treat it as either of these, why don't we just treat it as the latter? After all, it doesn't really matter. Just think about this card actually being in Duelists of the Roses and just spending all of your life points just to give attack and defense to this card. So, Divine Beast, 0 attack, 0 defense, 10 stars, but maybe it has a flip effect that deducts all of your life points but 1, and then powers up Winged Dragon of Ra by that same amount it deducted. It's hard to think how else they could really implement this power-up effect in Duelists of the Roses without a flip effect such as this, and it wouldn't really matter if you wanted to abuse this flip effect with Darkness Approaches, because it would leave you with 1 life point anyways, so unless you recovered life points after this, it wouldn't gain any more than that. It would be interesting to create a strategy that allowed you to recover masses of life points and abuse the flip effect with Darkness Approaches, but the max number for attack and defense of life points is 9,999 anyways. You could theoretically max out your life points before using this effect, and then that would give Ra 9,998 attack points, but remember in Duelists of the Roses there are plenty of other ways to achieve 9,999 attack more consistently anyways. Next up, and perhaps just as easy to imagine, is Slifer the Sky Dragon, which the effect isn't really up for debate. This card is well known to gain 1,000 attack and defense points for every single card in your hand, and its debut is also actually in the same duel as the debut of Pot of Greed, funny enough, as the duelist Strings is seen implementing a strategy to abuse the amount of cards he has in the hand to achieve extremely high attack points on Slifer the Sky Dragon. However, in Duelists of the Roses, of course, as we all know, the hand size limit is always 5, and there is no way to increase this. This seems to limit the effectiveness of Slifer the Sky Dragon, but remember, the player always draws to the max of 5 cards in any turn, meaning that every time you start a turn and draw a full hand, Slifer the Sky Dragon's attack and defense with this effect will always be 5,000 in Duelists of the Roses, only decreasing if you play at least 1 card out of the hand. Now on the inverse, this seems kind of powerful, but then you realize that if you want to play cards out of the hand, which basically you always do, then Slifer the Sky Dragon's attack will always be lower than 5,000. In the event you want to play more than 1 card out of the hand, Slifer's attack is now 3,000 or lower, meaning it's no better than just playing something like a Blue Eyes White Dragon. And if you play more than 2 cards out of the hand, well, this thing would be very underwhelming for a 10-star monster to have less than 3000 attack. And last, but certainly not least, we have Obelisk the Tormentor. Now this is an interesting one. From what I remembered in the anime, the power of this card was to tribute an allied monster for its power and attack and defense points, which... that's what I assumed it was as a kid, but that is actually not the case. Instead, you apparently tribute 2 of your other monsters to destroy all of your opponent's monsters on the field, which also deals 4000 life points worth of damage apparently. Now, ignoring the fact that there are no tributes in Duelists of the Roses, this sounds absolutely ridiculous if you actually implemented both of these effects in Duelists of the Roses. Considering the base life points in the game is 4000, well basically if you summon this would be a dark hole for everything else but itself, then assuming your opponent didn't gain any life points from the start of the duel, it will just kill your opponent anyways. So you destroy all of their cards and then just win? It seems a bit redundant, but maybe we can just pick one of these effects because they're both quite powerful. And I think a 4000 burn effect is quite boring, so considering the game doesn't have tributes, perhaps summoning it and giving it a flip effect to destroy your opponent's monsters seems fun and powerful. And who knows, in an alternate universe there could be a Duelists of the Roses with Raigeki that has its original effect, and maybe you can copy that? I don't know. Imagine just summoning a 4000 attack and defense card with a flip effect that is just a dark hole for your opponent's cards that you can just flip back down with Darkness Approaches and then flip up and destroy all of your opponent's cards. I mean, that sounds ridiculous. Which, by the way, if you actually want to implement an enemy card wipe in Duelists of the Roses, you can actually do this by setting a White Hole trap card and then activating Dark Hole. What happens then is White Hole actually activates and saves your own cards, so every time you activate Dark Hole, you just destroy all of your opponent's cards unless they set a White Hole first. It's actually kind of scary. But anyways. I'm aware that sounds super broken, but I promise I'm trying my best just to keep these effects faithful to what they're perceived as in the anime and or card game, and they seem to translate well if you just really dumb their effects down and ignore how good or bad they are. Remember, this is a game, the video game, that is just not balanced at all. It has cards like Ryoku in it, so I don't think this game would really care how powerful or not powerful these effects were. So, in spite of saying that, if you have any ideas of how the God cards should work if they were implemented in Duelists of the Roses, feel free to leave a comment on how you would suggest any of the God cards should work in the game. Thanks a lot for watching. Feel free to subscribe to the card discussion playlist that'll be on the screen, and my channel of course if you'd like the content too, and perhaps in the next card discussion video we will talk more about the Battle City cards, as the game was released during the Battle City anime being aired, and there's some very cool cards in that arc that we can talk about. See you next time.